All right, next tissue. So we covered epithelium. We're on number 2, the nervous tissue, no particular order. So nervous tissue is made of neurons, which you can see here. Neurons, these cells like this, they're usually long and slender, so they can go long distances. In fact, the longest cell in your body is a neuron, and it goes about 3 feet long, one cell, 3 feet. And I've actually talked to neuro people, so a neurosurgeon I was having a conversation with, and they said, that's not real. I said, actually it is. One cell, 3 feet long in the average person, adult. So it goes from the tip of your spinal column, out, down your leg, over your knee, behind your knee, down your lower leg, and then into your foot, over your ankle, under the bottom of your foot, and goes to your big toe. One neuron. It's not all by itself, it's actually bundled with a bunch of other neurons and protective cells, so we call that a tissue. That bundles a tissue. But the one individual cell, the neuron, stretches from the bottom of your spinal cord, or column, all the way out, thigh, knee, leg, heel, foot, to the toe. So about 3 feet. It's pretty cool. So that's a nervous cell. There's more than just nervous or a neuron. You have nervous tissue, which means there are a lot of cells working together. The rest of the cells are collectively called the glial cells. Glia, like down here, means glue. So these are the cells that glue all the other neurons together. Because neurons, so I'm a neuro person, that's my background. So neurophysiology, I love it. I love understanding how the electrical conduction of neurons work. But they're princesses. Neurons are like little princesses. They grow in your brain. Once they get in their place they want to be, they never move for the rest of your life. They stay there, and they're pampered forever. They don't feed themselves. They get taken care of by these glial cells. The glial cells serve the princess. When they make a mess, the glial cells pick up after the princess. If they get hurt, the glial cells take care of them. The glial cells will wrap themselves around the princess like a warm blanket. The glial cells really take care of neurons, and neurons don't do squat except turn on and turn off. That's all a neuron has to do. On, off, like a light switch. On, off. It doesn't turn like a dimmer light switch. Nope, it's either on completely or off completely. That's all a neuron does. But a neuron can send a signal from your brain to another part of your brain, to your spinal cord, down to your leg, down to your toe, all over just by offs and ons. In fact, everything that you know, everything you're hearing is just a series of off and ons by neurons in your brain processing this information. That's how the computer you're looking at works too, and it's called binary code. Binary is saying that it's just a 1 for on or a 0 for off. That's how all computer language is based, is by 1s and 0s. That code in that order. I don't know if you ever heard of Morse code, but Morse code does the same thing. It's a signal that's sent with an impulse that doesn't get loud or quiet, but it can get on and off. Morse code is actually more complex, can do more things than your neuron can, because Morse code you can go beep and sustain it for a long time, but a neuron just goes beep, beep, beep. Every time that it sends a signal, it's always the same length signal. Beep. It's always the same volume. Beep. It doesn't get strong beep or beep, mild. It's always beep right in the middle. So just imagine if you could only communicate with Morse code, but you couldn't use long dashes. You can't go beep, 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 like that. You can only do beep, beep. That's it. That's how your body works. All the signals that go from your brain to anywhere else go by those little impulses. Let's take a peek at one of these cells. It's number 34. There we go. So hopefully you pulled out your epithelium, which went back into slot number 14, and now we're looking down for number 34. Oh, I was bragging a couple of these videos back about how good I was getting at grabbing the right number. There it is. Motor nerve whole mount. So a neuron is one cell. A nerve is a bundle of cells. So in this little tiny bluish colored spot, we're going to see more than just neurons. So we're going to put it in, make sure that your stage is down, your revolving nose piece, oops, I did it again, I loosened up my objective. Your revolving nose piece clicks into place with the red, right, 4x. Take your nerve, slide it into place. I'm going to turn up my light, make sure it's nice and bright. And I'm going to go to the scope for you. Boom. All right, I'm going to take the course mount and see if I can find this. I just keep going and going. Where am I going to? There we are. Kind of coming into focus. I'm going to use my fine. There it is. Okay. I'm not looking at all this stuff out on the outside edge. I'm looking for that. All right. This might be a little dirty again. Cloth. While we're talking about this, the nervous tissue, you have neurons and the glial cells, and there are a lot of types of glial cells. You can see all the names down there in the bottom. There are glial cells that work like an immune system because, interestingly, your brain has its own immune system that doesn't work nicely with the rest of the body. That's why when you get an infection in your brain, it's really bad because your regular immune system can't protect you with it. All right, so we're going to look in that again. Slide this over. You probably are already in place because I'm a step behind since I had to clean. There it is again. Boom. Great. Awesome. And right away I see a bunch of neurons. So if you look at this picture in your book, you can see all these like stars here and all the wires connecting them. Those stars are actually motor neurons. So motor neurons move your body. They send signals out to your muscles to say move, contract, fire. Right? So they'll be like these over here. They've got a big body. Body's where you find the nucleus, so the body's going to have that dark speck in the middle of it. And they have lots of branches coming in, but one long branch that goes out. So all of these signals can come from, we'll use an example with your brain. All these signals can come from parts of your brain going to this one neuron that's going to go into your spinal cord and down to control the muscle to move. And I can see some already. So we're going to pick, there you go, if that helps. We're going to look for intersections, like there's an intersection right there, there's a big intersection here, there's an intersection there. And I don't know for sure without getting closer if I'm getting the right ones, but I'm going to look for those intersections because that's the body. If I see a dark circle in the middle, I know it's a nucleus. So let's go from the 4x objective. We're going to jump up. Boop. To figure out what's going on. Fine focus only. Bringing it in, bring it in, bringing it in. Nice. Ooh, you see that cell down here in the bottom. Boop. Not a neuron. Well, you can see that nucleus clearly. You can see its shape. Let me get back to my scope. Oh, yeah. So with that big one in the middle, I'm not seeing a nucleus, and it seems really, really big to be one neuron. But I can see here's a neuron, here's a neuron, boop, right? They have kind of this triangular shape. Not perfectly stars, but I can see the nucleus in the middle. I can see the body. I can see all these branches. that are coming in. It's almost like it's an arrow facing this direction, up, right? So all these branches coming in are just like our picture over here, where we have, whoops, where we have all these branches coming in. Just imagine this upside down, and I have one branch going out. And that's called the axon, and that's really important because every neuron only has one axon. It can have lots of these inputs, so it can have lots of people talking to it, but when it speaks, it only has one output, and that's called the axon. So this axon can actually send a signal all the way down my leg to its output, which would be like my toe, to get my toe to wiggle. So I'll have a signal that comes down and says wiggle toe, and I go dink. Sends another signal that says wiggle toe, dink. But let's say it wants to get a strong wiggle, so it'll go dig, 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 and my toe will clench up and tighten, right? Dig, 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 like that. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer, right, because I'm only at 100 times magnification. Let me put one of those right in the center of my view. Oops. I like this guy right there. Ooh, man, there's a really good one up at the top, too. Darn. We might have to look at that one next. All right, and I'm going to turn my revolving nose piece, and now I'm at the 400 times magnification. Hard to see. Let's see if we can do a little more contrast. Autofocus. Oh, you're bothering me. Let's use a color filter and see what happens. Not really. That might be a little bit bad. Oh, I lost my image. Let's make sure it comes back. Boop. 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 Back. Alright, I wanted to look at whoa. Nice. Oh, I just lost it. Slide back down. See what I find. Oh, come back over here. Oh, too far. It's finicky. Nope, no nucleus. Moving along. Next. Yep. Wrong way. Go down. Sometimes you just have to scan around. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh no, same thing. No nucleus. So what could happen sometimes is you slice it and you lose a nucleus. So if you're trying to slice a basketball to look at layers of a basketball, then ooh, look at that, there's a nucleus. If the basketball had a nucleus sitting over to the left and you cut it down the middle, only the left side will have a nucleus in it, the right side will have no nucleus. And that's what happens is sometimes you slice a cell or slice something and you lose what you're looking for. Oh, it disappeared again. That one's a little bit tough to see which is coming and which is going. Otherwise, that would be a great example. Super good example. Those are pretty faint, but they look pretty decent too. And you see all these little dots? all these little dots are actually the nuclei for other cells. That one got cut off. This is the only time in which I had stage knobs, because once you get it in focus with the stage knob, you can turn that knob and it moves, but it keeps everything pretty much still in focus. Oh, there's a long sheet of something. Nope, 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 off the grid. Back, 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 scanning along. Nope, went too far. Well, this is probably a pretty good example. But we can't see, so we're going to have to imagine what it's missing. Right, so here, see the nucleus? Right there? You can kind of see the shape of this cell. So again, it cut off the beginning and where it's going to. So these neurons, if I were to draw them, look like, here's my drawing. This is at, what am I at? 40x times, times 10x ocular. That's my objective. Here's my ocular. 400 times magnification, total magnification. I'm looking at a pig motor neuron. If you're the type of person that has to have everything linear, great. For the amount of information I'm writing down here, I'm putting my notes down so that I remember what it looked like when I went through it. So my pig motor neuron is kind of like this, but it's a little more triangular. So it's kind of actually in the middle of this star shape, we'll say. And then you can see, like this. It's more like the star shape in this picture where it's thick and it's going to point towards an axon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw what I'm seeing here, and it looks like it's kind of like broad at the base, comes down, comes back up, and then it's kind of ripped here. So most likely what's happening is I have all these branches. It's good to have colored pencils to draw this, that are coming in. Here's my little tiny nucleus, right? And you can see some strings going this way. Those are actually neurofilaments. They're stringy things, filaments, in a neuron, neurofilaments. A lot of the anatomy, if you get used to it, the names make perfect sense because you just take those little pieces. Right? So here's my neuron. This would be my axon. Broad up here, coming down to a finer point. It tells me it's coming in this direction. So that's where the axon is. What's probably happening is the axon is going down deep in the spinal cord, and the dendrites, the beginning parts, are up here. And we're catching just this middle section. Right? So when we talked about field of view and we talked about the levels or layers of focus, we're right in the middle. We're not seeing the beginning of the neuron, we're not seeing the end of the neuron, we're seeing the body right in the middle of it. Right? And then the cells we see around it, let's get that image back up. Excuse me. Yeah. All the little cells that you're seeing around. So these little cells here, boom. These little cells. This is probably another neuron here. This nucleus. Okay. All these little cells. All of those cells that you're looking at, so I have random ones, and I can't see it this perspective what they are. I just have random cells. I have a little group of 3 of them here, just hanging out, talking about what they're going to do next to serve their princess. I've got some right here above. These are all called glia. I don't know if they're the immune system glia I don't know if they're the wrapper glia, but these different glia have different purposes. So these ependymal cells, I always think epithelium, because look, they're all touching hands, epithelium. They form a wall, right? And they actually form the wrapper that separates your brain tissue from other tissues. Right? Here you have, this is called an astrocyte because this is kind of star-shaped. I think like freaky, weird alien star, right? But astrocyte is its name, astro, star, cyte, cell. Right? This little guy, this microglia, micro, look how tall he is, microscope, small. Glia is just telling you, he's just a small glue cell. These are your immune system in your brain. Not super strong, not as strong as the rest of the immune system, but they still do a good job. All right, and then these two cells, the Schwann cells and oligodendrocytes. Sorry, I forgot that you're not pointing. So, Schwann cells, oligodendrocytes, down here in the bottom. They are the ones that give the blanket to the neuron. They wrap the neuron's axon and protect it. How it protects is a whole other story. But these are all glial cells that do little jobs for the neurons, so the neuron's pampered and doesn't have to do anything. It's always taken care of. And up here you can see that your neurons, your nervous system, go to every single organ in the body. And there's no organ that's not being affected in some way by your nervous system. Right. So we've talked about epithelium, we've talked about nervous system. Let's go on to our next one.